Hi everybody, welcome to Shifting Lives. I'm your host, Zanele Ndlovu. Shifting Lives is the epicenter of self-growth and development for you who desire to live an abundant life of purpose as you walk into your divinity while navigating life on earth. It is a home for motivation, encouragement, and spiritual growth. A safe place for vulnerability as well as celebrations. Hi guys, welcome to Shifting Lives. And this week we will be talking about the definition of self. One thing I didn't realize was that self-discovery was a continuous journey. It is not based on one event in your life or one, season in your life that you go through. Whether traumatic or celebratory, it doesn't define who you are. So I struggled a lot with defining myself because there was a specific event that I went through that I thought this is just it. This is just who I am, and this is how my life will always be. I found it difficult to answer some of life's, simple questions such as what are your interests? What do you love to do? What's your 5-year plan? This and many other questions are avoided. I avoided so easily by claiming that I'm just living for the moment. The Bible says, do not worry about tomorrow and let tomorrow worry about its own, and just do today. So I kept saying, I'm just doing today. I'm doing today. So don't ask me anything about tomorrow. Don't ask me anything about my interest. And this was simply because not only that I didn't want to answer the questions, but I was in a season where I was empty of self. Yeah, I was empty of self. I couldn't identify with me in that season. I couldn't identify with who I was becoming, who I was, or I couldn't even remember who I used to be. I was so hurt. I was in a traumatic experience that I was lost. And I think that season comes to all of us. We all get into a season where we really feel lost. We really feel empty of self. We really feel like we are depleted in who we want to be or who we think we should be, to a point that you can't even give a simple answer on what your interests are. And that's where I was. I was in a state of emptiness. I was in a state of depletion. I was in a state of self-loss. And sometimes this can be self-inflicted. When I took the time to sit down and reevaluate my life and rediscover myself, I realized that there were episodes that led me to that point. There were episodes that led me to feeling empty. And I want to share with you just the things that led me to self-emptiness. Firstly was comparison. I compared a lot of what I was going through with other people. When I compared my relationship, when I compared where my life was at that time, when I compared how my peers lived compared to mine, what I did is I neglected where I was in that season. I neglected the person I was becoming in that season in order to be somebody else. It was not even being in a competition with that person. It was me trying to be that person, to level up to that person. And that depleted me so much because it shut down, it compressed my own level, it compressed my own nature, it compressed my own ability just so I can fit somebody else's strength and ability. And that will never work. That didn't work. And it led me to feel so insecure, so empty, so vulnerable. And that was the first thing that I did wrong that led me to self-emptiness. The second thing was needing validation. Yeah, many of us are living lives based on what other people say of us, what other people's opinion of us, what we are doing, how we are doing it, why we are doing it, and whether we should continue or stop doing it. Now, validation can be good, but it also can be bad. Whenever we seek validation, what we are doing is we are shutting our own voice up in order to open up somebody else's voice in us. We are giving somebody else the opportunity to tell us how they want us to be, how they want us to live, how they want us to to act. And that depletes you of yourself what you should be telling yourself, you are allowing somebody else to tell you. And remember that people will validate you based on what they think of you, based on their opinion of you, based on how they perceive you, how they want you to be, how successful they want you to be. If they want you to fail, they will validate you based on what they want you to do. So people's validation cannot fill us up with self. It shuts our own spirits down. It depletes our own ability, and it limits us in terms of how far we can soar. How do you define yourself when you're in a space where everything you know about you is what other people have told you? The third thing that led me to self-emptiness was needing the unknown. Now, many of us are familiar with this, but we're not familiar that it is leading us to a dead zone. Needing the unknown basically is when you are in need of something, but you don't really know what it is. So we can't pinpoint exactly what it is that we need, but we know, like, I need something. I need love. What kind of love do you need? What kind of person do you need? What kind of affection do you need? You end up accepting anything that looks and feels like love just to fill that need. And that can lead you to emptiness. Because whatever you're trying to feel, you don't know. So even when you receive something that can feel that, you're still not sure it is feeling that, because you don't even know what needs to be filled or how it needs to be filled. And that is the danger of needing something that you don't know. Many are in careers that they didn't choose because they had to fill a need. They needed a job. They needed a qualification. What qualification? It didn't matter. Myself, for example, my mother chose my career for me. I'm a diagnostic radiographer today, and Lord knows I appreciate her choice. But I realized today that it was her choice and not mine. I didn't have a say. Yes, I had completed my matric. Yes, I needed to go to college or university, but I didn't know what I needed to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my future was supposed to look like. So my mom came to me and showed me this qualification, and she's like, just do it. And because I needed a qualification, I accepted it. And yes, today it is working in my favor, but I realized that it was not my choice. My voice wasn't there. I didn't speak to myself. I didn't disappoint my parents. I didn't let her down by quitting when I realized this is not for me. I still continue. I'm still doing that job today. It pays my bills, yes, but it's still not my voice. I needed it, but at that time I didn't know what I needed. And somebody else took the opportunity to make that decision for me. If we're not careful, if you're in need of something that you aren't aware of, someone else will fill in what they think you need. And you might not be as lucky as I am. You may be miserable from somebody else's choice for your life. That can empty you of self. Now, the fourth and the last thing that I will share with you that led me to self-emptiness was my inability to do self-introspection. I don't know how many of us do take the time for self-introspections, but I really didn't. I didn't give myself the time to ask myself the most difficult questions of life. I didn't give myself the chance to wonder what my life would be like, what I want life to be like, how I want to plan for it. Do I want a family? Do I want to get married? Those type of questions, I never took the time to ask myself. What are my goals? What are my interests? What's my pastime activity? I know many of us, we sort of share a lot of what your hobbies are. When you write your CV, you would add a portion where it talks about your hobbies, and you'll be like netball, singing, reading, all of those things. And that's where it will literally end, with the hobbies. It doesn't go further than that. We don't take the time to say, okay, now that you've got my hobbies, what can I do from what I know about my hobbies and my interests? Do they change over time? Or is the hobby just something that I used to do and I just write it because I've once done it? I'm not sure if it still fits in this season, but I've once done it. I've been a netball player before. It is in the past of my life. Right now in my season, I don't see myself playing netball again. So if I'm going to answer you based on what I used to be, I'm not giving you an accurate answer because I'm no longer that person. Self-introspection gives you an opportunity to evaluate yourself, to see what you used to be, what you are, and what you want to become. And it helps you draw boundaries to say, listen, I'm no longer this person, now this is where I am. But whenever we don't take the time for self-introspection, we will run away from those questions like, what are your interests? Just like I did, avoiding such questions. Simply because we don't want to be vulnerable with ourselves. We don't want to identify with the fact that I'm no longer that person. And because I'm not that person, I am not aware who I'm becoming. And because I'm not aware of who I'm becoming, it is difficult for me to say, I want to be this person. I become insecure with where I am. One thing men don't want is to not be in control of themselves. And I understand that fully. But for you to be in control of yourself, you need to identify with what is, what was, and what needs to be. Your present, you can still alter. Your present, you can still make up. You can't change the past. You cannot live based on who you used to be in order to navigate who you currently are or need to become. Some of the goals that we have, we cannot attain them if we are going to be the person we used to be. And that's what self-introspection does. It equips us so that we can function better in this season, and we'll be able to equip ourselves for the next season to come. One thing the introspection did for me is that it has helped me realize some of the most simple things I had even forgotten, like my favorite color. There was a season in my life where you would ask me what my favorite color was, and I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what my favorite color was. But when I did self-introspection, I realized what color I had always loved, and that has always been orange. And I think that will now be, for most people, it will give you an understanding of why Shifting Lives is all orange. It is a bold color, courageous color. This is the color that I love, that, for me, it reminds me of who I am, my character, my nature, my boldness, confidence. That's why I love it. So yeah, it has been that much of a challenge for me, but figuring out my favorite color was just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. Self-introspection really does help a long way in terms of defining myself, in terms of doing the things that I love, because now it is my voice that speaks louder than somebody else's voice. And it is easy for me to tell somebody, like, your opinion of what you think I can do is half truth. The other half, or most of the truth, comes from my voice and what I know about myself. And that is what defining yourself is all about. Not based on other people's opinions, not based on other people's perspective, but based on what you know about yourself, what you believe about yourself, what you have discovered about yourself. So even when somebody brings you a comment on what you do or how you do it, you know how that comment can sit because you know the truth about yourself. This is what this whole episode is all about. Learning to define yourself, learning to give yourself a voice. Take the self-discovery challenge. Equip yourself with the knowledge of some of the things that you have left undone, some of the things that you have neglected. Don't be like me. Don't avoid questions that would really impact your life just simply because you don't have the answers. Give yourself time to search for the answers. Search for what life is to you, what meaning life gives you. And if you don't know, it's okay. That's what the challenge is about. For you to recognize the parts of you that you still aren't aware of. The parts of you that you are not sure of. But in the meantime, you also have to be awakened to the things that you know and you are sure of. Build from what you already know. Build from what you have discovered and allow the process to teach you some of the things that you weren't aware and you actually come to light with. That is the beauty of life. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't have to know everything right now. You have simply need to be in the process. You simply need to give yourself the opportunity to discover you, to be you, to define you. That is the important thing. Be in the process. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. Defining yourself based on your own voice, your own discovery, your own understanding of self, so that no one else can tell you otherwise, or you don't follow anybody else's voice but your own. We use people's opinions and comments about what we do only to enhance our skills better, to promote ourselves better, to equip ourselves better. It is not the only voice that we need to listen to. Our voices are the most important voices we need to listen to, because that is the only voice that God also listens to. And when we learn to listen to our own voice, it is easy for us to listen to the voice of God, because we can recognize ourselves, we can recognize who we are dealing with, and we can open up room to say, God, now that I'm aware of myself, lead me to the parts of me that I am not aware of, so I can be in alignment with the real person that you have designed me to be. And God is beautiful and just to give you those answers. But He's waiting for you to learn to listen to yourself. Have a blessed time, guys. It's been an honor to be here. Please, if you haven't subscribed, join the family, subscribe, share, like. I would really love to build this channel and build my podcast with your help. And I believe that we can do it together. I believe in empowerment. I believe that I am empowered to empower others. And I believe that you are also empowered to empower me. So as you share, you subscribe, you like, you are empowering me to continue doing what I love to do. Thank you so much. Have a blessed time. Till next time. Bye. God bless you. That's all I had for you for today. Thank you so much for listening. Do connect with me. I've put my link on all my social pages on the description of this podcast. Do rate the podcast, rate my episode, and I would really love to hear from you. Send me an email, give me a shout. Let's connect. Bye.